No, good conversation. Good conversation about the wide receiver thing there for most people. I see some people on the text line. As someone said here, you can't teach speed. Ross was just small and skinny. If it were about the fastest, if it was all about speed, the Raiders would be looking for their 20th Super Bowl.
Ooh, yeah, well, I mean, look, nobody said it's all about speed. I said as this roster, this offensive roster is constructed right now, there's a lack of it. That's it. That's all. That's all I'm saying. So, not all about speed. Just recognizing a need here in Houston, and speed is absolutely one of them. Look. I mean, and here's the other deal: is I mean, when we're talking about first round picks, and particularly the first round picks that a lot of people want to point at, and as it pertains to speed, the fastest receivers or whatever. Look, a lot of times those guys are drafted by dysfunctional organizations, and just like quarterbacks, they're drafted by dysfunctional organizations, and they're never put in position to have success. They're never supported and surrounded. A lot of them have piss poor quarterback play, and so I mean, there's several guys you can point at the running back position, tight end position, wide receiver position. That speed was predominantly was a huge plus for them, and they've done well. There's a lot of them that didn't make it. Just like there's big ones, there's big receivers that everybody thought, boy, this guy's going to be the best thing since sliced bread, and didn't piss a drop. There's great route runners that didn't piss a drop. There's guys that had a ton of twitch, kind of deal. And it's I understand that it's not always a perfect science and it doesn't always work. I'm just telling you, there's a lack of speed on the Houston Texans offensive side of the football, and in my opinion, they could use it desperately. And if you are a Houston Texans fan and you watch the way that the offense has struggled in the more critical times of the season, which is in the playoffs, some speed would have been welcomed.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now I know a lot of that had to do with injuries.
Well, you can just see the makeup of the team right now.
Yeah.
Like they need that.
Yeah, I mean, when we start talking about speed, if you got to lean into Justin Watson and I don't know where else you go with it. I guess.
No, that's the other part.
Tell me how good of a return guy Dameon Pierce is, and I don't know. I think it's pretty obvious that there's a need for speed. Good thing is you can find it. True reality is you can find it in health throughout the draft, up and down the draft.
And I think they will do that. I don't know. I could see though with his makeup, because the culture thing is big for him. With his makeup and his relationship with the most important person in the organization and locker room right now, C.J. Stroud, I could see that being a potential match. I could see that.
Yep, no doubt. And it may be great, may work out great. I've got an opinion, and it's pretty strong about speed and the need of it here.
Yeah. I wanted to play this from CJ. He said this the other day, and in particular, what he said about his OC Nick Caley stuck out to me.
That kind of is what I'm used to. Being a little more pre-snap, having tools to put my guys in the best position, and that's something that we really didn't work on these last 2 years. But be able to just get better and learn from what he did. New England and LA will definitely help me, because I feel those are two schemes that I'm taking full ownership and running the show, and that's what I want. So I'm gonna get what I want, and that's really been really cool just to see that he's bought into me, and he doesn't really know me well yet. So he talked about today having blind trust, and I have a lot of trust in him already. Just how he talks and how he presents in the room and things like that is really cool to see.
How, as somebody who played, and you've been coached by all type of coaches, from Bill Parcells to Houston Nutt,
bounced all over the place.
Dave Campo, Mark Trestman. You've been coached by a lot of different guys, type of styles. What do you think when you hear CJ say to the tune of, I'm glad that he put all, and understanding where CJ is in his career, where he put all of that blind faith in me and trust in me to hand me the reins, and he hasn't even really met me.
Well, I think he was hired based on that, but there's that's what I think. He was hired. He was hired to be the exact opposite of what I'm guessing, but what it seems like is Bobby Slowik was a guy that allowed very little input. Wanted C.J. Stroud to just do what he's teaching him and do it to the best of his ability. And Nick Caley is a guy that was hired to do this, but I believe Nick Caley is a guy that is stroking C.J. the same way that DeMeco Ryans and Nick and everybody stroke C.J. every time they talk about him. They stroke the hell out of him. I would imagine that is the same approach from Nick Caley. And I could see where that would feel really good, for Gerard Johnson and C.J. Stroud to experience the opposite of Bobby Slowik. And not even that Bobby Slowik, I don't know how bad it was, but Bobby wouldn't have had to be just this tyrant running around the building. Just, I've been with offensive coordinators that just they were to themselves. They were introverted. They didn't want input. They didn't allow input. They didn't encourage an open door policy. That they wanted you to just do what they coach and do it well and don't ask questions and shut the hell up and let's move on. And that's some guys have been very successful with that. When you have that and then you jump into what it seems like Nick Caley has been hired to do, which is, allow more of a collective effort than just be your way or the highway, I would see where C.J. Stroud would welcome that. And I for one, I think that's the way it should be. I think when you find – and now unless your offensive play caller is the head coach that has pelts on the wall that, hey, man, this is how we do things and we win championships. Like you can go in there and Andy Reid doesn't need a ton of input, even though there are a ton of stories out there where he took Pat's game into consideration and still does with how he creates. But, when you've got a first time play, got a third-year quarterback and a third-year quarterback coach, you got a lot of youth in the building. I would think that the collective effort is probably –
I do think with that example, I think he did – it was more than 2 years before he was just like, all right, man, you got it.
You talking about Andy and Pat?
Yeah. So that's the part that is – he's like, yeah, before even really us sit down and meet and talking and going over stuff, like he's had blind trust in me. Like
it's wild, but I think that's where they're at.
It's unusual, yeah.
The thing is that like when you look at a guy in Andy Reid that's had his system for so long, and you bring a guy like Pat Mahomes in, you know exactly what part of your offense is going to be a perfect fit for this kid. And then when you watch this kid's film or you talk to Pat and Pat goes, this is what I like to do, Andy Reid knows immediately then how to go get the plays in his playbook that do that and apply it. So it's a much more efficient process with a guy like Andy Reid. Nick Caley, we'll see.